it's time to go to the movies. Yes, James Luxford is here once again this afternoon. Hi, James.
Hello.
Stratford-upon-Avon movie critic, writes the reviews for the Radio Times and the Metro newspaper. I've been saying this afternoon, nervous about the third movie that you're going to review this week, but we'll get to that in a minute. We're starting with, Dev Patel's back.
Yes, the personal history of David Copperfield. It's the period drama / comedy starring Dev Patel as Charles Dickens' famous character, following him from childhood as he meets a variety of friends and enemies in Victorian England.
Your mama is ill. How ill is she?
Very ill.
Dangerously ill.
She's dead. We're very sorry.
Yeah. Okay. What's he like? Dev Patel as David Copperfield.
He's it's incredible that it's, a decade now since he, or more than a decade, about 12 years since Slumdog Millionaire. And since then, he's become such a diverse actor in films like Lion in particular, which apparently convinced director Armando Iannucci to cast him in this. And it's just a very well cast and well thought out adaptation. This is a story that's been done over and over, as every Charles Dickens story has been, but this seems to have just a little bit of a twist on it, that quite clever humour, the way in which everything is delivered. It's still faithful, but I think also feels quite fresh with the people in it, people like Hugh Laurie, people like Peter Capaldi and Tilda Swinton. It brings a freshness to it that I think you wouldn't expect from a standard costume drama.
And is that Armando Iannucci's influence in that? Obviously, he's known for satirical stuff. Peter Capaldi for The Thick of It. Before that, a lot of the Partridge stuff that made Steve Coogan famous. I was not aware that he'd done sort of any big sort of movies before. So how's he done with this?
He did In the Loop, which was kind of the Thick of It movie, and he did a couple of years ago. He did The Death of Stalin.
Okay,
which is he hasn't done many films, but he does go in, and it is of that type. It is kind of these awkward, hilarious interactions, and he brings some of that to this. Again, kind of blending what has worked for hundreds of years with what works with modern audiences, I think.
Okay, good stuff. Personal history of David Copperfield. Let's move to a remake of a horror film.
Yes, if you may remember the 2000s horror film The Grudge. Well, this is a remake which follows a detective investigating a murder in a house which he finds out is possessed by a vengeful ghost.
Someone was murdered at that house.
Why did you never go into that place?
Something never felt right about it.
Now, I know you don't really do horrors.
I don't know.
How did this do?
This is very much because there are very few films out this week, and I had to fill the lineup. It's through my fingers, but I did watch it, and it's not really my genre, but I can tell a good one from a bad one. And this, for me, wasn't particularly good. Oh. It's just a really bog standard remake that kind of retreads the same material we had with the original film, which starred Sarah Michelle Gellar, which I believe was a remake of an Asian film, but it just doesn't bring anything new to it. It doesn't bring anything fresh. I think things. I think like you've got to bring something new to it. You can't tamper with it too much, but with like the Halloween remake reboot last year, which brought some new conversations to what that film was about. You have to bring something here that makes you think of it differently, and this just didn't do that. It
doesn't. Okay. Right. Now, I've been saying this afternoon, I'm nervous about this because Will Smith's done a couple of turkeys, hasn't he, lately? But he's decided to go back to something a bit tried and tested. He's amazing on-screen relationship with Martin Lawrence, but it's been a while since those Bad Boys hits from the 80s. But they're back for a third time.
Yes, 16 years after Bad Boys 2, it's Bad Boys for Life, the third film in the franchise, which sees Will Smith and Martin Lawrence go up against a drug lord.
Look at this mess, it's carnage.
I didn't do all this.
You didn't shoot anybody?
Well, come on, Cap, you know I shot some people.
Yeah.
Go on, then.
I really liked it.
Really?
I'm
Good.
Really liked it is maybe a strong word. It is, look, Will Smith has a kind of odd career recently. Of course, Aladdin made $1 billion last year, and you can't call him, on the wane when you make $1 billion doing anything. But he has done things like Gemini Man and lots of recent films that have not worked out for him, and he's not, on his own, not the draw he perhaps once was. But I think we're just in a different time where franchises mean more than movie stars. And here he goes back to familiar territory. It's only the second franchise he's done a sequel to, the other being Men in Black. And he slips right back into it. He doesn't seem to have aged a day since the last time we saw him. And yeah, absolutely. And it sort of tries to reinvent it while still keeping what worked. It's the interactions between the two, the comedy, the action, but also they're bringing a new team. They've gone a bit fast and furious with it.
Right, okay.
And I think that's with an eye to carrying it on into the future. They've already greenlit a fourth one.
Okay.
And I, on the basis of this, I think if they can make it as entertaining as this, why not?
Martin Lawrence?
I really like him. I think he's had some mental health issues which have kept him away from the screen for a long time, but he never lost that capability to make you laugh, and he is really adds to it because Will Smith looks superhuman. He looks his age, if to put it kindly, and it's about him settling into it and perhaps not wanting to be. He says, we can't be bad boys anymore. It's time to be good men, and to which Will Smith says, that will never fit into a song.
Love it. James, appreciate it. That's made me a bit more reassured about going to see it this weekend. James Luxford from Metro newspaper, Radio Times magazine, to read his reviews every week and every Thursday afternoon here on BBC Coventry and Warwickshire. 3 minutes to 5, traffic and travel update after...